Hello there guys, this is Solid Shepard bringing you another video. So, video games cause violence. At least that's what the government seems to want you to believe. We all of course are familiar with Anita Sarkeesian's attacks on games, which ignited the the third wave feminist movement to attack games anew. But before this, the gaming industry had somewhat of a break from the attacks and BS. I say break because, well, this is far from the first time something like this has happened, and it didn't even start with video games. Back in the day, it was rock music, everything from Elvis Presley thrusting his hips.
The band was jumping and the drum began to swing. You should have heard the knocked out jailbird sing. Let it rock. Everybody let it rock. Everybody in the wholesale block was dancing to the jailhouse rock.
To Stairway of Heaven being played backwards. But it was really just more about adults at the time not understanding the new genre of music. It was never really a tangible thing. About as real as it ever got, what the arguments were, God, something like along the lines of God said. But eventually, as the younger generation started to age and take up the ranks of the adults, we saw this narrative slowly shift. Rock and metal are very mainstream these days, but of course it wouldn't end there. In the 90s and early 2000s, the advent of mass shootings became a central talking point in the US. Of course, as human nature dictates, the media, government, and public in general needed a scapegoat. A scapegoat would be the relatively new medium of video games. It seems it was a constant barrage of attacks we had to defend the industry from for years. Of course, most of us who were in the culture and community knew it was all BS. We all played games, it was our favorite hobby, for some almost a way of life. Yet we had never felt the urge to, nor killed anyone. Eventually, universities began to do studies on the subject and concluded there was absolutely no causation between violence in the real world and violence being played out in a game. Because, of course, correlation does not equal causation. Finally, the fight seemed to be over. Gaming became more mainstream, and about the most we had to worry about were crappy reviews from gaming journalists and outlets. For a while, we thought nothing of it, until the Zoe Quinn incident. Enter Gamergate. I don't feel like we really have to rehash all of the events here. It's pretty well documented. I will say, however, all Gamergate was a movement to combat the underhanded tactics of gaming journalists. It was essentially about ethics in gaming journalism. In short, Quinn was sleeping with reviewers to give her indie title good reviews. The public caught wind of this. They retaliated on social media. The gaming journalists responded by writing articles basically stating that gamers were dead and over. That they were all a bunch of sexist, racist pigs living in mommy's and daddy's basement. They attacked their own fans. The fight began anew, but with the left this time instead of the right. Anita Sarkeesian took this opportunity to push her brand of feminism and rise to prominence with her Tropes vs. Women in video game series. That she never finished, essentially stealing money from her supporters, by the way. She would make straw man arguments, and was even caught stealing gameplay footage from actual gaming YouTubers. A video was even found of her giving a presentation where she said she's not a gamer.
I'm going to show you a remix that I just finished this weekend and no one else has seen. One person has seen it. It's a soundtrack of one song, except I'm doing video games. So it's not exactly a fandom. I'm not a fan of video games. I actually had to learn a lot about video games in the process of making this. To me, the song is positive just because I've only contextualized it in a way to critique male domination in our media. And also, video games, like, I would love to play video games, but I don't want to go around shooting people and ripping off their heads, and it's just gross. So, hence, this is my response to that.
Yet she masqueraded as one for years and even recently visited BioWare as what it appeared to be a temporary consultant on their new game Anthem. Of course, the media would have you believe that she's a good guy. Or woman, don't want to assume the gender. Quinn was a good person, and gamers are the evil ones. And that Gamergate was lost by gamers. But the truth is that the war still rages. Just because they said it was over and they won does not make it true. The old principle remains true. If you don't like something, don't try to change it, just go somewhere else. Don't ruin it for those that do enjoy it. But gamers are winning. Common sense is prevailing, and gaming is as much of a meritocracy as it ever has been. And then, out of nowhere, President Trump recently brought up the monster we all thought was already slain, that games cause violence. Oh boy. Here we go again, we all said. On Thursday, March 8th, President Trump met with top executives of the gaming industry to discuss this topic. While we all hate these people for their insistence on loot boxes and predatory practices, I can say they were protecting our interests on this particular subject. According to reports from an article on website The Verge, the meeting was hastily assembled and has been purposefully made as a distraction for more concrete gun control measures. Now, this video isn't about pro or anti-gun. This is about blaming video games. Just know that it seems they are trying to use this to avoid the bigger, more real questions. The president opened the meeting by showing a cut-together video of violence in video games. Then he said, "This is violent, isn't it?" Well, obviously it is. That's not the point being discussed, though. It's whether online violence can translate to real-world violence. Apparently there was a little talk about regulation. They were really just urging the companies to self-police better. Of note is the fact that none of the representatives that came with President Trump had any real knowledge about gaming or expertise in it. According to the article, the gaming company CEOs held their ground, most notably by referencing the studies that we brought up earlier, proving that video games were not the causation, but rather a correlation of violence here in America. They also brought up the First Amendment and the ESRB, which does a good job policing things like violence and sexual content, if not predatory practices. So in closing, video games have been attacked by the right at times and the left at others. But it seems it is currently being attacked by both sides now, at the same time. I guess the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Of course, both sides' arguments hold no water at all. Just about any feminist argument against gaming and Gamergate can be debunked with even a little amount of research and just a little Google search. And at the end of the day, a psycho is a psycho, not a gamer. As always, guys, this has been Solid Shepard, and until next time, I should go.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again, because a vision softly creeping left its seats while I was sleeping, and the vision that was planted in my brain still remains within the sound of silence. In restless dreams I walk alone narrow streets of cobblestone, neath the halo of a street lamp. I turn my collar to the cold and damp. When my eyes were stabbed by the flash of a neon light that split the night and touched the sound of silence. And in the naked light I saw 10,000 people, maybe more. People talking without speaking, people hearing without listening, people writing